Good morning. Today we will start with external force convection. In the previous chapter, we had general and theoretical aspects of force convection with emphasis on differential formulation and analytical solutions. In this chapter, we consider the practical aspect of force convection to or from a flat or curved surface subjected to external flow, characterized by the freely growing boundary layer surrounded by a free flow region that involves no velocity and temperature gradients. We start with an overview of external flow with emphasis on friction and pressure drag, flow separation, and evaluation of average drag and convection coefficients. We also find for cylinders and spheres and present graphs and empirical correlations for drag coefficient and Nusselt numbers. Drag and heat transfer in external flow. Fluid flow over solid bodies frequently occurs in practice, and it is responsible for numerous physical phenomena such as the drag force acting on the automobiles, power lines, trees and underwater pipelines, the lift developed by airplane wings, upward draft of rain, snow, hail and dust particles in high winds, and the cooling of metal or plastic sheets. Therefore, developing a good understanding of external flow and external force convection is important in the mechanical and thermal design of many engineering systems such as aircraft, automobiles, buildings, electronic components, turbine blades. Friction and pressure drag. You may have seen high winds knocking the dough trees, power plants and even trailers, and have felt the strong push the wind exerts on body. You can say when a car is moving, this is test in the wind tunnel. If the velocity of air is 60 mph per hour, it will put a drag on this car, which can be represented in terms of force. A stationary fluid exerts only normal pressure force on a surface of a body immersed in it. A moving fluid, however, also exerts tangential shear force on the surface because of no slip condition caused by viscous effects. Both of these forces in general have the component in direction of flow, and thus the drag force is due to combined effect of pressure and shear forces in the flow direction. The components of the pressure and wall shear force in normal direction to the flow tend to move the body in that direction, and their sum is called lift. Now, when a plate is placed normal to the flow direction, the drag force depends on pressure only and is independent of the wall shear stress, since the shear stress in this case acts in the direction normal to the flow. For slender bodies such as wings, the shear force acts nearly parallel to the flow direction. The drag force for such slender bodies is mostly due to shear forces, skin friction. Now in this case, drag force acting on a flat plate normal to the flow direction depends on pressure. The drag force Fd depends on the density of the fluid, the upstream velocity V, and size, shape and orientation of the body. Among other things, the drag characteristics of a body is represented by the dimensional drag coefficient CD, which is defined as force of drag divided by half density velocity square into area. A is the frontal area for blunt bodies that tends to block the flow. The frontal area of cylinder of a diameter d and length L can be expressed as LD. For parallel flow over plates, flat plates or thin airfoils, A is the surface area. The drag coefficient is primarily a function of shape of the body, but it may also depend on Reynolds number and surface roughness. Now this drag force exerted by fluid on a body in the direction of flow due to the combined effect of wall shear and pressure force, the part of drag that is due to directly to the wall shear stress is called skin friction drag, since it is caused by friction effect, and the part of due to directly because of pressure is called pressure drag, also called force drag because of its strong dependence on the form or shape of the body. So CD is equal to friction drag, it is a function of pressure drag. When a fluid forced to flow over a curved surface at sufficiently high velocity, it will detach itself from the surface of the body. The low pressure region behind the body where recirculating and backflows occur is called separation region. The larger the separation area, larger the pressure, drag will be. It will cause drag also. The effects of flow separation are felt far downstream in the form of reduced velocity. The region of flow trailing the body, where the effect of body on the velocity is felt, is called wake. So this region is your wake region. The separated region comes to an end at this point when the two flow streams detach, but the wake keeps growing behind body until the fluid in the wake region remains its velocity. So this will form here. Viscous effects are the most significant in boundary layer, separation region, and the wake. The flow outside this region can be considered to be inviscous. Heat transfer. The phenomena that affect drag force also affect heat transfer, and this effect appears in the Nusselt number. By non-dimensionalizing the boundary layer equation, it was shown that a local and average Nusselt number have the functional form. This is Nusselt number, which is a function of x, Reynolds number, Prandtl number. The experimental data for heat transfer is often represented conveniently with reasonable accuracy by a simple power law relation of the form, which is Nusselt is equal to C Reynolds raised to m, Prandtl raised to m, n, where m and n are constant exponents and the value of constant C depends on the geometry and flow. We usually use film temperature, which is the average temperature of surface and free stream velocity, to find the fluid properties. Fluid properties are then assumed to remain constant at those values during the entire flow. An alternative way of accounting for the variation of properties with temperature is to evaluate all properties at free stream temperature and to multiply the Nusselt number relation by this value or this value. Local drag and convection coefficient vary along the surface as a result of change in velocity boundary layers in the flow direction. So we interested in the average friction and average drag coefficient. Average friction and coefficients, drag coefficient we calculate by this. So this is your integration of local drag coefficient over the full length will give you the average drag coefficient, and if you take the local convective heat transfer coefficient, integrate it over the full length, you will get average convection heat transfer coefficient, and if you have this value you can find the heat transfer also. Parallel flow over a flat plate. We know when your fluid flows over a plate, so it will start to develop this boundary layer. This region is called laminar, and x critical, where your laminar flow will change the phase into turbulent flow. So surface temperature of this plate is Ts, this is free stream velocity and free stream temperature. So the transition from laminar to turbulent flow depends on the surface geometry, surface roughness, upstream velocity, surface temperature and type of fluid, among other things, and is best characterized by Reynolds number. So Reynolds number is equal to function of density, your velocity of fluid, the plate length, it also depends on the length of the plate, where you have to calculate the Reynolds number, and your viscosity, dynamic viscosity. So for flat plate, transition from laminar to turbulent is usually taken occur at a critical Reynolds number, which for flat plate is 5 into 10 raised to power 5. It means that if you x increase, your Reynolds number will increase and your flow become turbulent. So Reynolds critical correspond to this point where your x is x critical. Above this your flow is turbulent. Reynolds number will increase along the plate. So value of Reynolds number may vary from 10 raised to 5 to 3 into 10 raised to 6 depending on surface roughness and turbulence level of the free stream. Friction coefficient. Based on analysis, the boundary layer thickness and the local friction coefficient at location x for laminar flow over a flat plate were determined. So this is your for laminar, that is boundary layer thickness, which is a function of Reynolds number, and this is friction coefficient, which is also function of Reynolds number. This is for laminar, and for turbulent this is the relation for boundary layer thickness, and for friction coefficient this is valid for not turbulent flow when your Reynolds number lies between 10 to the power 7 and 5 to 10 to the power 5, where x is distance from the leading edge of the plate and Reynolds is the Reynolds number at location x. Note that Cfx is proportional to Reynolds number, and thus it is also proportional to x raised to power minus half for laminar flow. Therefore, Cfx is supposedly infinite, means when you put here Reynolds number, or you can say when you put x 0, your Reynolds becomes 0, and if this term is 0, this is infinite, which is for the leading edge of the plate, means for this point your Cf is infinite, and then along this plate it will start to decrease by a factor of this in the flow direction. The local friction coefficients are higher in turbulent flow than they are in laminar flow because of the intense mixing that occurs in the turbulent boundary layer. Notice that Cfx reaches its highest value when the flow becomes fully turbulent and thus decrease by a factor of this in the flow direction. The average friction coefficient over the entire plate is determined from this relation. If you take this and integrate over the whole length of the plate, you will get this value here, which is the average friction coefficient for the entire plate. Same for the turbulent case, when you integrate this value, you will get this friction coefficient for the entire plate. So this relation gives average friction coefficient for entire plate when flow is laminar over the entire plate, and this relation gives you the average friction coefficient for entire plate only when the flow is turbulent over the entire plate. But sometimes it is not so the case. A flat plate is sufficiently long for the flow to become turbulent, but not long enough to disregard the laminar flow region. In such case, the average friction coefficient over the entire plate is determined by performing the integration over two parts, laminar region for this range and turbulent region for this range. So this is the value here. It means this average friction coefficient will depend on Reynolds number. So for different Reynolds value, this is the friction coefficient tabulated here. Also, if your surface is rough, you have this relation which is on experimental database, where E by L is your 10 to the power minus 4, it should be greater, where E is the surface roughness and L is the length of the plate in the flow direction. Heat transfer coefficient. The local Nusselt number at location X for laminar flow over a plate was determined by this relation, which we had already calculated for Prandtl number greater than 0.6. So this is variation of your heat transfer coefficient. This is transition region and this is turbulent region. For turbulent region, this is your Nusselt number. So it is proportional to Reynolds raised to 4.5 in case of laminar flow. So therefore, for HS is infinite at the leading edge. At this edge it is infinite, means maximum, because this term x is 0. If it is 0, if you go here in the denominator, you will get maximum value, and decrease by a factor of x raised to power minus 0.5 in the flow direction. The variation of boundary layer thickness delta and the friction and the heat transfer coefficient along an isothermal flat layer are shown here. So this is your value of delta. This is del x at particular x. This is the variation of boundary layer thickness. The average Nusselt number over the entire plate is determined by relation. From this relation, you can find the average heat transfer coefficient by putting the local heat transfer coefficient here and integrate over the entire plate length. So this is for the average heat transfer coefficient or Nusselt number for laminar plate, and this is your Nusselt number average for turbulent flow, where Nodal number varies from this value to this value. In some cases, a plate is sufficiently long for the flow to become turbulent, but not long enough to discard the laminar flow. In such case, we take the both values. So in that case, your average heat transfer coefficient is integration of laminar and turbulent local heat transfer coefficient, laminar from 0 to critical length, and turbulent flow from critical length to the full plate length. So this is your heat transfer coefficient for laminar, this is your heat transfer coefficient of turbulent, and this here is the average heat transfer coefficient over the entire plate, which we have calculated from this relation. Liquid metals such as mercury have high thermal conductivity and are commonly used in applications that require high heat transfer rate. However, they have very small Prandtl number, and thus the thermal boundary layer develops much faster than the velocity boundary layer. Then we can assume the velocity in thermal boundary layer to be constant at the free stream and solve the energy equation. It will give this relation. It is desirable to have a single correlation that applies to all fluids, including liquid metals, by curve fitting existing data. The relation which we had for all Prandtl numbers is Nusselt number Hx by k is equal to this. So these relations have been obtained for the case of isothermal surface, flat plate with unheated starting length. So far we had limited our consideration to situations for which the entire plate is heated from the leading edge, but many practical applications involve surface with an unheated starting. So in this unheated section, velocity boundary layer will develop first, and at this point this is the heated section here. So here you have thermal boundary layer. So consider a flat plate whose heated section is maintained at a constant temperature Ts for x greater than this value, means beyond this you have the heated section. Laminar turbulent flow, the Nusselt number local is given as by this formula for laminar flow, and for turbulent flow it is this. Consider if this value is 0, if you put here 0, you will get the same relation as in case of isothermal flat plate, in which you are heating at the leading edge to the end of the plate. So this Nusselt number relation reduced to Nusselt for this value is equal to 0, which is the Nusselt relation for flat plate without an unheated starting length. Therefore, the terms in the brackets in the denominator serve as correction factor for plate with unheated starting length. Convection coefficients for this case is given here for laminar, for turbulent. So if you put this value here 0, you will get that your HL is equal to 2Hx. When the flat plate is subjected to uniform heat flux instead of uniform temperature, the local Nusselt number is given by this relation. So when flux is prescribed, the rate of heat transfer to or from the plate and the surface temperature at a distance x are determined by relation this, which is this. You can find the surface temperature of the plate at any place by this relation. Flow of hot oil over a flat plate, engine oil at 60 degree, flow up at upper surface of a 5 cm long flat plate whose temperature is 20 degree. The velocity of oil is 2 meter per second. Determine the drag force and the rate of heat transfer per unit width of the entire plate. So we will take the film temperature, which is surface temperature plus free stream temperature, which is 40, and correspond to this 40 degree we will take the properties of oil, its Prandtl number, viscosity and density. Round number is equal to VL upon V. We will find the round number at the end of plate, which is found to be this. Now this round number is less than the critical round number. It means your flow over the plate is laminar even at the end of plate. So we will consider the equations for laminar flow. The average friction coefficient for laminar flow is given by this formula, which is this, and the force is equal to average friction coefficient into area into density V square by 2, which is 181 Newton, which is equivalent to the 18 kg of mass. If you divide by the gravity, it means to hold the plate you have to apply the equivalent force which is used to lift a 18 kg mass or to hold 80 kg mass against the gravitational force in the opposite direction to the flow of oil. So Nusselt number for laminar flow over plate is given by this relation. So this is your Nusselt number. From here you can find the convective heat transfer coefficient, which is this. Now total heat transfer from the plate is equal to, because this is due to convection from plate to oil at the oil and plate interface. So this is this amount. So heat transfer is always from high temperature to low temperature. So in this case, from oil to the flat plate, flow across cylinder and spheres. Flow across cylinder and sphere is frequently encountered in practice. For example, the tube in a shell and tube heat exchanger involve both internal flow through the tubes and external flow over the tubes, and both flow must be considered in the analysis of heat exchanger. Also, many sports such as soccer, tennis and golf involve flow over spherical walls. So in this case, to calculate the roll number, we will consider this external dia as the characteristics length. So roll number in this case is equal to Vd upon viscosity, where V is the uniform velocity of the fluid as it approaches the cylinder. The critical roll number for the flow across the cylinder is about 2 into 10 raised to 5. So this is boundary layer remains laminar up to this number, and above this it will become turbulent. You can see this is your theta angle here, which is showing the separation region. This is stagnation point where your fluid will came to a complete rest, and then it will start to flow in this direction. This is boundary layer, and this is where your flow will separate from this cylinder and become turbulent. At very low upstream velocity, roll number less than 1, the fluid completely wraps around the cylinder and two arms of fluid meet at the rear side of cylinder. At higher velocity, the fluid still hugs the cylinder on the frontal side, but it is too fast to remain attached to the surface as it approaches the top of the cylinder. As a result, the boundary layer detaches from the surface, forming a separation region behind the cylinder. Flow in the wake region is characterized by random vortex formation and pressure much lower than stagnation point pressure. So this is your laminar. Here your turbulent layer starts and then it will form a vortex. The pressure in this area will be less than the stagnation pressure. So if there is a pressure difference between this end and the back end, due to which pressure drag is produced. So in this case of cylinder or sphere, pressure drag and friction drag both are responsible and they will lead to the overall drag. The drag force is due to friction drag at lower roll number and due to pressure drag at higher roll number greater than 5000. This is your average drag coefficient for cross flow over a smooth cylinder as a function of roll number, and for smooth sphere are given. For roll number less than 1, the drag coefficient decreases with increasing roll number. For a sphere it is 24 by roll number. There is no flow separation in this regime. In moderate range, 10 raised to the power 3 and 10 raised to the power 5. In this range of 10 raised to the power 3 and 10 raised to the power 5, the drag coefficient remains constant. This behavior is characteristics of blunt bodies. The flow in the boundary layer is laminar in this range, but the flow in separation region past the center of sphere is highly turbulent with a wide turbulent wake. You can see here, this is your separation region and this is your wake region. There is a sudden drop in the drag coefficient somewhere in the range of 10⁵ to 10⁶. In this region, you can see there is a sudden drop in the drag coefficient. This large reduction in the coefficient drag is due to flow in the boundary layer becoming turbulent. You can see in the previous we had laminar boundary layer, but here transition phase occur at Reynolds number greater than this, and you had turbulent boundary layer, and due to this turbulent boundary layer, this flow separation point move further as compared to this case. Here is the flow separation, here the flow separation is this, reducing the size of wake, this region, and thus the magnitude of the pressure drag will reduce as compared to this case. This is in contrast to streamlined bodies which experience an increase in drag coefficient when the boundary layer becomes turbulent. Flow separation occur at θ80, measured from stagnation point when the boundary layer is laminar, and this angle theta when it is 140 degree when the flow is turbulent, and the flow separation occurs at 140 degree in case of turbulent flow. Fact of surface roughness. We mentioned earlier the surface roughness in general increase the drag coefficient in turbulent flow. This is especially the case for streamlined bodies. For blunt bodies such as circular cylinder or sphere, however, an increase in surface roughness may actually decrease the drag coefficient. So this is the drag coefficient, this is your Reynolds number, and this E by D will represent your relative roughness. So when it is 0, it means surface is smooth. So when your E by D is equal to 0.00015, so it is rough surface. Here E by D is equal to 5 × 10⁻³ So it means your surface is more rough, and this is in the case of gall wall, in which you can see there are rough areas on the case of gall wall, which are usually to decrease the drag coefficient. This is done by tripping the flow into turbulence at lower Reynolds number and thus causing the fluid to close in behind the body, narrowing the wake and reducing the pressure drag considerably. Means if due to the surface roughness your turbulent flow will start, so this wake region will decrease and overall pressure drag on this body will decrease due to the surface roughness. So at Reynolds number 10⁵, for example, drag coefficient is 0.1 for a rough sphere, whereas drag coefficient is for a smooth sphere is 0.5. You can see for the rough sphere it is 0.1, at 10⁵ Reynolds number it is 0.1, but if you take this smooth sphere at the same Reynolds number it is 0.5. Therefore the drag coefficient in this case is reduced by a factor of 5 by simply roughening the surface. If the Reynolds number is say 10⁶, in that case the drag in case of smooth surface is 0.1 and drag in case of rough surface is 0.4. So in this case, roughening the sphere in this case will increase the drag by a factor of 4. Means this condition of decreasing the drag by roughening surface is true for a particular Reynolds number. Means below this Reynolds number, below this value, your surface roughness will decrease the drag coefficient, but above this value you can see your surface roughness has increased the drag as compared to the smooth. So above discussion show that roughening the surface can be used to great advantage in reducing drag, but it can also backfire on us if we are not careful, especially if we do not operate in right range of Reynolds numbers. Golf balls are intentionally roughened to induce turbulence at lower Reynolds number to take the advantage of sharp drop in the drag coefficient at the onset of turbulence in the boundary layer. If this surface is rough, the turbulent region will come and it will cover the back side of the ball, reducing the overall drag on the ball. So in case of turbulent region, this wake region will decrease as compared to this case, which is a smooth. So in this case, the overall drag force is less as compared to this case. The typical velocity range of golf ball is 15 to 150 meter per second, and round number is less than 4 into 10 per 5. The critical round number of a dimmed golf ball is this. This occurrence of turbulent flow at the round number reduces the drag coefficient of ball by half. So this is your golf ball. It operates in this region. You can see in case of smooth, it is drag coefficient is 0.5, but is in case of golf ball, which is in this region, you can see drag coefficient is only 0.25, which is almost half in case of smooth golf ball. Once the drag coefficient is available, the drag force acting on the body in the cross flow can be determined. A is the frontal area. Area is equal to LD in case of cylinder, and area is equal to pi d square by 4 in case of sphere. So if you know drag coefficient, you can find drag force. Area we had already mentioned. Heat transfer coefficient. Flow across cylinder and sphere in general involve flow separation, which is difficult to handle analytically. Therefore, much flow must be studied experimentally or numerically. Indeed, flow across cylinder and sphere has been studied experimentally by numerous investigators. The complicated flow pattern across a cylinder greatly influences heat transfer. The variation of local Nusselt number theta around the periphery of a cylinder subjected to cross flow of air is given in this figure. For all cases, the value of Nusselt starts out relatively high at stagnation point. This is your stagnation point in this case, which is where your flow starts to follow the profile of your cylinder. So this is stagnation point where your fluid stream first meets the cylinder. So but decrease with the increase in theta. So at this point your Nusselt number is maximum, and it will decrease with the increasing value of theta, which is this. At stagnation point your theta is 0, and as you go along this direction your theta will increase. On the two curves at the bottom, you can see on these two curves corresponding to load number 70800 and this, Nusselt reaches minimum at theta is equal to 80. This space, your Nusselt number is minimum when your theta is 80 degree, which is the separation point in case of laminar flow. Then Nusselt increase as result of intense mixing in separation flow region. So this is your separation flow region, means wake region. So this is your wake region. You can also see curve corresponding to this and this roll number are different from other curves, that they had two minima. One is here, the second minima is here. At this point you can see there is a sharp increase for these curves, these four curves. This is due to the transition of laminar flow into the turbulent flow, due to which your overall heat transfer coefficient or this value will increase due to turbulence, and it reach maximum, and then this decrease again. This is due to the thickening of the boundary layer, because we know the boundary layer will glow along the surface. So this reason correspond to 140. When your theta is 140 degree, here your flow starts to separate, which will cause the production of wake region, which will further decrease the heat transfer up to this point. So this minimum is due to the formation of wake. So for the calculation of heat transfer, we need average heat transfer coefficient over the entire surface of several such relations are developed. One of the relations for cross flow over a cylinder was present by Churchill. So this is the relation here. This is valid for Prandtl number greater than 0.2, and here your TF that is film temperature is taken, which is the average free stream and surface temperature. Flow over a sphere, the Whittaker recommended the following compressive relation, which is this for sphere. This is valid for Reynolds number this range and Prandtl number for this range, while the fluid properties in this case are evaluated at free stream temperature except this. So we can generalize this relation. We know that in both the relations it is a function of related to power and Prandtl related to some power. We can generalize that Nusselt is equal to hd by k for cylinder is equal to c Reynolds raised to power m and Prandtl raised to power n. So these values m, n and c are given in table for circular as well as various non-circular cylinders. So these are empirical correlations for average Nusselt number for the force convection over circular non-circular cylinders for this range of Reynolds number for gas or liquid. For gas, for square type of cylinder, this is the Nusselt number. These are the power of Reynolds and Prandtl number. You can see Prandtl number in all cases almost 1 by 3. So these coefficients C and M are changed for different shape cylinder is given here. Flow across tube banks. Cross flow over tube banks is commonly encountered in practice in heat transfer equipment such as condenser, evaporators of power plant, refrigerator, air condition. In such equipment, one fluid moves through the tubes while other moves over the tubes in perpendicular direction. You can see this is the direction of the outer fluid which is outside the tube, and in tubes the fluid will flowing into the perpendicular direction towards the screen. In heat exchanger that involve the tube bank, the tubes are usually placed in shell and thus the name shell and tube heat exchanger, especially when the fluid is liquid and the fluid flows through the space between the tubes and shell. So flow through tubes can be analyzed by considering flow through a single tube and multiplying the results by number of tubes. This is not the case for flow over the tubes. However, since the tubes affect the flow pattern and turbulence level downstream and does the heat transfer to or from them as shown in figure, you can see they are affecting the flow fluid. So we have to take bank of the tubes instead of considering one tube. Internal flow you can take only one tube, but for external flow you have to take the bank of tubes. The tubes in a tube bank are usually arranged either inline or staggered in the direction of flow. This is the inline arrangement, first row, second row, third row. This is staggered arrangement. Here D is diameter of tube, S is your longitude pitch length, ST is your transfer pitch length, A1 is area at entrance, AT is area between two tubes, SG in this case is diagonal pitch which is equal to this side square plus this side square, SL square plus HT by 2 square. If this tube length in this direction is L, then this area A1 is equal to ST into tube length. So as the fluid enters tube bank, the flow area decreases from A1 to AT, which is ST minus D into L between the tubes. This is your AT, where AT is equal to ST minus this portion and this portion which is equal to D. So ST minus D into L. So this value, and thus flow velocity increase. In staggered arrangement, the velocity may increase further in the diagonal region if the tube rows are very close to each other. So in the tube banks, the flow characteristics are dominated by maximum velocity that occurs within the tube bank rather than the approach velocity. So here your velocity is V as of the stream, but when your fluid enters between the tubes, its velocity will increase, and that is the maximum velocity. So therefore Reynolds number is defined on the basis of maximum velocity, which is equal to Reynolds number is equal to density into maximum velocity into diameter upon viscosity. For inline arrangement, means this arrangement, the maximum velocity occurs at the minimum flow area, which is this area AT. Apply the conservation of mass on this area and this area. On this area the mass rate is density into velocity into area, which is this. On this area the mass rate is density into velocity maximum into area of this. So you will get relation between velocity and maximum velocity. So maximum velocity is equal to st by this factor. So this is your maximum velocity. You had the maximum velocity and you can find the Reynolds number corresponding to this maximum velocity. In staggered arrangement, the fluid approaching through area A1 in this figure passes through AT here and then through area this AD and this AD, means this will go, part will go from this side, part will go from this side. So means 2 AD as it wraps around the pipe in the next row. And thus V maximum relation can be used for staggered tube banks, means this relation you can use for staggered tube banks also. If this AD and AD means 2 AD is greater than 80, it means the maximum velocity will occur at this portion. So you can use this relation. But if this AD plus this AD means this 2AD is less than 80 in some case, then we have to use a difference relation to find the velocity at this cross section, because now this cross section is less, this plus this cross section is less than 80, means your 2AD less than 80. In that case we have to use a different relation. Now replace this AD and AT from this equation. This is your AT and AD. Here AD is equal to, means this AD is equal to SD minus this and this, means SD minus D into length of the tube, and AT we already know AT is equal to ST minus D into L. So replace these values in this equation, you will get this equation. Now apply conservation of mass principle, that is flow rate, mass rate at this point, which is density into velocity into A1 is equal to mass rate at this plus this, which is equal to density into velocity maximum into this plus this is equal to 2AD. Replace this AD with this here, you will get this relation. From here you can find V maximum, which is ST by 2SD minus D into velocity. This relation is for staggered tubes, in which if you rearrange this you will get this, in which your SD is less than ST plus D by 2. Flow through the tube bank is studied experimentally since it is too complex to be treated analytically. There are relations available for Nusselt number on the experimental data. So this is your correlation here, where Prandtl number surface on the surface of the tube, where C, M and N depend on Reynolds numbers. So such correlations are given in table. This valid for Prandtl number this and Reynolds number this. Now note that all properties except Prandtl surface are to be evaluated at arithmetic mean temperature, which is temperature at inlet of the tube and temperature at exit of tube, and arithmetic mean Tm. So these are the Nusselt number for inline and staggered for cross flow over tube banks where N is greater than 16 and Prandtl number lies in this range. So these correlations are used to calculate the heat transfer. So the average Nusselt number relation are for tube banks with 16 or more tubes, more rows. These relations can also be used for tubes with NL, provided they are modified as. So means if you had NL tube, you can find the Nusselt number with the help of this value, this table, but you have to multiply F, where F is called correction factor, whose value is given in table. So these are the values of correction factor F for inline, for staggered. When your NL is less than 16, you can use this correction factor and you can put the value here by using this Nusselt number, for which NL is greater than 16. You can find this value. Once the Nusselt number and thus the average heat transfer coefficient for entire tube bank is known, the heat transfer rate can be determined from the Newton's law of cooling using the suitable temperature difference delta T. The first thought that comes to mind is to use del T is equal to Ts minus Tm, but this is not so the case. It will overpredict the heat transfer. We will show in the next chapter that the proper temperature difference for internal flow is the logarithm mean temperature difference, that is del T ln, which is defined as Ts minus T exit minus Ts minus T inlet divided by log of these two, which is equal to delta Te minus delta Ti divided by log of this. So this Ts in this case is your surface temperature. Now the heat transfer rate can be determined from convection coefficient, area of surface, del T log n. This is because the temperature during the flow through the tube will change. So we have to take logarithm mean temperature, which is equal to change in the energy of the fluid, which is mCp, temperature of at the exit minus temperature at inlet. The second relation is usually more convenient to use since it does not require the calculation of del T log n, and this relation where you have to use exit temperature can be calculated from this relation, that is Ts minus Ti exponential area surface H by mCp, where As is equal to here n pi dl. N is the total number of tubes in bank, and mass rate is equal to density into velocity into Nt. Nt is the number of tubes in the transfer plane into St, surface area. This St into L is your area at the inlet. Pressure drop. Another quantity of interest associated with tube banks is pressure drop, del P, which is difference between the pressure at the inlet and exit of the tube bank. It is a measure of the resistance the tubes offer to the flow over them. It is expressed that del P is equal to NL F X density V maximum square by 2. F is the friction factor and X is the correction factor. So this friction factor and correction factor are plotted against Reynolds number based on maximum velocity. So this is here transverse distance. This is your longitudinal distance between tubes. If you divide by diameter, you will get longitudinal pitch, transfer pitch. If the arrangement is square, we say transfer pitch is equal to longitudinal pitch. So this correction factor is used in case if square inlet tube bank will deviate from rectangular, or you can say deviate from square arrangement, and it will deviate to the rectangular inline arrangement, then we use this correction factor, which is given over here in this plot. So this represents the deviation. See, if PT and PL both are same, you will get here 1. So correspond to this value of 1, you can see this is the value of correction factor, which is 1 here. Means we use this correction factor if your square arrangement will deviate from square to the rectangular side. If your PT, PL and PT will deviate and they will not equal, then we have to use this correction factor to count that factor. Say if your PT will increase, you deviate from square towards the rectangular arrangement. If your PT increase, this overall value will increase, means you will move from this side. If you move to this side, your correction factor will decrease, and vice versa. If your PT will decrease, this value will decrease, you will move into this side and your correction factor will increase. In case of square arrangement, this correction factor is 1. This graph is between friction factor and Reynolds number correspond to the maximum velocity. If your Reynolds number will increase, your frictional factor will decrease, and this is graph for PL 1.25, 1.5, 2, 3 and 2.5. If PL is 1.25, it means that is the ratio of SL to D, that is transfer longitudinal pitch to the diameter ratio, that is your PL. In the same way, this figure is for staggered arrangement. This is for friction factor and Rinaldi maximum. In this case, SD is equal to ST, means transfer is equal to diagonal distance. So these two distance, diagonal as well as transfer, same. If there is a deviation from this, then we use correction factor. You can see at this point your correction factor is 1 when your transfer and longitudinal is 1. And for if you have deviation from this equilateral arrangement, you have to use this correction factor. So the figure 727b is for equilateral staggered tube bank when ST is equal to SD, and the correction factor is to count for the effect of deviation from equilateral arrangement. Note that correction factor is 1 for both square and equilateral triangle arrangement. Also pressure drop occurs in flow direction, and thus we used NL, the number of rows in the del P relation. The power required to move the fluid through a tube bank is proportional to pressure drop, which is del P here. The pumping power required can be determined. This power is equal to volume flow rate into pressure drop, which is equal to this, where volume flow rate is equal to velocity of fluid into this transverse rows, which is in this case is 1, 2, 3, which is number of transfer rows, into ST into L. This is your transverse, this transfer pitch, where L is in this direction toward the screen tube length. So this is your volume flow rate. The power required to keep the fluid flowing through the tube bank is proportional to pressure drop. Therefore, the benefits of enhancing heat transfer in tube bank by rearrangement should be weighted against the cost of additional power requirements. Preheating air by geothermal water in tube bank. In an industrial facility, air is to be preheated before entering a furnace by geothermal water at 120 degrees Celsius, flowing through tubes of a tube bank. So this is your tube bank here, which contains geothermal water at 1 degree Celsius in this tube. The surface temperature of this tube is assumed 120 degrees Celsius. This is your air which is flowing over the tubes with this velocity and this temperature of 20 degrees Celsius. The outer diameter of tube is 1.5 centimeter, and tubes are arranged in line with the longitudinal and transfer pitch of ST is equal to SL is equal to 5 centimeter. So this is your direction of flow, and there are 6 rows in the flow direction, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 10 tubes in each row. So this is your row 1, 2, 3 in the flow direction and 10 tube in each row. Find the rate of heat transfer per unit length of tube and pressure drop across the tube bank. We know inlet temperature of air, but exit temperature of the air is not known. Thus, mean temperature is not known. So we assume the mean temperature of the air, that is exit and inlet mean, as 60 degrees Celsius, and we will take corresponding properties of air at 60 degrees Celsius, which are this. This is Prandtl number at 60 degrees Celsius. This is Prandtl number at surface temperature. We will find maximum velocity, means we will find the velocity at this location. At this location we will find the maximum velocity, because here velocity is the air velocity and here cross section is the minimum in this case. So maximum velocity occurs at this location, which is this. So put the value of ST and diameter. The maximum velocity is this 6.43 meter per second, and Reynolds number corresponding to maximum velocity is equal to this, which is 5091. For inline cross flow over tube banks, our Reynolds number lies in this range 5000, which is between this and this value. Corresponding Nusselt number is this. So this is our relation. Put the values of Reynolds number, Prandtl and Prandtl surface. You will get Nusselt number. So this Nusselt number is when your tube banks for n greater than 16. But in our case, the number of tubes is less than 16. So we use correction factor because we have this Nusselt number, but number of tubes are here less than 16. So our correction factor is 0.95 for 6 tubes between this and this value. Thus Nusselt number, this is applicable for NL greater than 16. In our case NL is 6. So we will use this value formula here, that Nusselt number in NL is equal to F into Nusselt number D. So here your F is equal to correction factor, which is this. So Nusselt number in this case is 49.3 and corresponding H is equal to 92.2 watt per meter square degree Celsius. So we have to now calculate the total surface area of this arrangement of tubes. The total number of tubes are 6 into 1060 and area of a single tube is pi dl into number of tubes. Here n is 60. So area, surface area of tube is equal to 2.827 meter square, which is total surface area of all the tubes. So this is the mass flow rate of air, which is density into velocity of air into cross section area. So ST into L is the cross section area in the transverse direction, perpendicular direction of airflow, and NT is because of we had 10 tubes in each row, so NT is 10 here, which is equal to 2.709 kilogram per second. So means from this side 2.709 kilogram per second of air is flowing through these tubes. Spacing, this spacing, the space between the tubes. So this is air exit temperature, means temperature of air at this point when it has passed through all the bundle of tubes. So this is the formula to find exit temperature. AS is surface area of tubes, H is convective heat transfer coefficient, Cp is specific heat of air, M is mass flow rate of air. This is your exit temperature of air, 29.11 degrees Celsius. Now we know inlet temperature of air, we know outlet temperature of air. It means heat carried by air is equal to mCp delta T, mass flow rate of air, specific heat of air, inlet temperature, Ti, exit temperature we had. So this is your heat transfer taken by the air. We know Reynolds number, we know SL by D ratio, which is 5 divided by diameter of tube, which is equal to 3.33. From this figure correspond to these values of Reynolds number and SL by D. So SL by D is your 3.33, means your PL is 3.33, which in this case is this. Our Reynolds number is 5000. So this is 1000, this is 10,000 and this here is 5000. So when you join this with this 3, you will get this value, which is 0.16. So friction coefficient is 0.16. X is equal to 1 because we have square arrangement. So you can find pressure drop. NL is equal to 6 here. So this is 6. We have 6 number of rows of tube into F into X, which is 1, into density V maximum square by 2, which is 21 Pascal. So this is the pressure drop across the tube bank.